With the frenzy of elections during the past months, many important issues have been overlooked, not just by politicians, but by the media as well. The IDPs, for instance. Almost 100,000 remain in camps, which means the government has still much to provide in terms of resettlement. In the meantime, international pressure on issues such as resettlement and accountability for the army's conduct during wartime continues. In our next story, we give you the government's case against what they say is selective targeting by the international community.
A year ago, the crisis of the new IDPs was just beginning. Thousands were fleeing the fighting and needed food and shelter. The problem reached its peak in May 2009, with about 250,000 people crowding the camps in the north. Today, things have vastly improved. Less people live in Manik Farm, the biggest of the camp complexes, and many have either been resettled or allowed to live with host families.
The releases, of course, includes elderly, orphans, pregnant women, infants, and their family members, clergy, university students, foreign passport holders, persons released on medical and humanitarian grounds, and those sent to live with host families. Even the host family, people who are living with host families are contacted by the respective GAs when their returns are confirmed and are given an opportunity to go back to their villages.
IDPs in the north have seen positive developments in the recent past, but their difficulties are not over yet. The government says it has released almost 183,000 people. But according to the UN Joint Humanitarian Update, as many as 98,000 of that number are living with host families as of February this year, and 99,000 people still remain in the camps. Those who have gone back to their former villages too are in urgent need of water, sanitation and health facilities. Still, there has been progress over the last months, especially in the run-up to the presidential elections earlier this year. And this is relatively good news for the government, which had faced criticism over its handling of the IDP crisis in the past. They always held that the problem was being used as part of a campaign to tarnish the country's international image. And at this press conference, news of IDP developments was followed by the government's stand on its latest confrontation with the international community.
During the phase of this previous conflict phase of about 3.5 to 4 years, we were under a lot of pressure, both internally as well as externally, internationally. Various speculations, propaganda, information was being put out in an organized, systematic manner to tarnish the image of Sri Lanka. One such clear
Minister Samarasinghe drew attention to two events that he said had led to the current situation. One was the matter of the 4 doctors who remained in the Vanni until the last stages of battle, providing government-disputed information to the international media about the grim conditions. The other, a statement by detained retired General Sarath Fonseca, relating to the allegation of the army's killing of the surrendering LTT leaders waving white flags. According to the minister, both these situations are examples of anti-government propaganda that has resulted in the UN Secretary-General's decision to appoint a panel of experts to look into human rights and accountability matters in Sri Lanka.
His Excellency the President received a communication from the Secretary-General, so Ban Ki-moon, His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, on the 2nd of this month, indicating his intention to appoint a committee to look into accountability issues. And during the course of the conversation, the President very clearly stated to the Secretary General that he doesn't feel that it is purposeful to have this committee. That was very clearly indicated to the Secretary General. The latest position in respect of this issue is that the non-aligned movement chair, current chair, Egypt, permanent representative of Egypt in New York, has sent a communication on behalf of the non-aligned movement to the Secretary General, very clearly condemning his intention to appoint a committee.
With the backing of the non-aligned movement in condemning the UN for selective targeting of individual countries, the government is set to fend off other queries into their conduct by the international community, including the report released by the US Department of State, also relating to Sri Lanka's human rights record.
The State Department had catalogued several incidents during the period of January and May in the conduct of the war. And our response to that was that despite the fact that the State Department said that there was no legal basis to this cataloguing and the report, and that they have not investigated any of these incidents, we thought that we should appoint a committee to look into these allegations. And a committee has been appointed, as you know, 6-member committee. They've been working now for some months. The mandate has been extended till April.
As it counters international attempts calling for accountability, the government has acknowledged that there are serious matters that remain unresolved that must be addressed urgently. Hopefully, the pressure of possible international involvement will spur the government to look into these matters domestically and take necessary steps towards meaningful post-war reconciliation and recovery in the country.
We are not saying that we don't have problems. We have problems, we have challenges. We have to certainly have problems and challenges emerging out of a 30-year protracted conflict. But we are saying with this action plan, which is a time-bound action plan, it's a 5-year action plan, 2010-2015, that we intend getting to a better position. So we have demonstrated by way of the action plan what we are going to do to deal with these issues by way of a very clear action-orientated strategy. Now we intend, of course, sharing this once it's confirmed with the EU, so that the EU also can understand and appreciate that we are willing to deal with these issues. And I'm sure in that context that the EU would understand and appreciate that this GSP Plus concession should be continued and not discontinued after the 6-month period is over.
We're going in for a short break, but we'll be back with a look at the agenda for improving women's rights in Sri Lanka.